Hello everyone, and today we're back for another Loomian Legacy PVP video. And today we're going to be ranking all of the Loomian Legacy roamers in a tier list. We're going to be ranking them from worst to best. We have the banned tier, the amazing tier, the great tier, the good tier, the average tier, the med tier, the bad tier, and the lowest of the lowest tier, dumpster fire. These are roamers, so these mons have at least 675 base stats. Some of them even have 700. So there won't be many mods in this tier, but there are a couple roamers that are not that good. And trust me, there are a couple mods that are in the banned tier. So honestly, let's get started in the video. We're going to be starting with the original roamer and Dusket. And Dusket actually used to be one of the worst roamers in the game, but it actually has gotten some buffs in some recent years. The biggest one was Hasten. It got Hasten, I think it was Season 2. It got it Year 1, Season 2, it got Hasten, and that definitely made Dusket a lot better. Dusket also has status moves like Bitter Cold and Raging Flame, which can be very dangerous, and the Dusket that we're actually seeing nowadays is actually Hasten Phantom Blast with a Spectral Shell, just to make it an utter nuke of a mon that can hit really hard. Now, of course, this Dusket Phantom Blast does have a chance to miss, but Phantom Blast has 110 base power after a Hasten boost. It makes Dusket extremely dangerous. Honestly, I think Dusket's a good tier mon. I know what people are saying. It does have some weaknesses, especially with counterpoise. Being weak to counterpoise and shadow sprint will always make it vulnerable to priority moves. But in Year 2 Season 1, there's going to be a change where the fog weather makes it so it's immune to priority moves, which could definitely help Dusket a lot. I could see this mod being very good in weathers, especially if Soul Burst Imperior is banned. Not to mention, just the threat of Hasten can be very dangerous, and it has good coverage moves and Dark Surge to hit Lumi and Chartiki, and Pyrokinesis to hit Stratosaur and Lashent, which is really good for it. And it also has the threat of just Bitter Colding or Raging Flaming a mon and Oppressing doing a bunch of damage. Not just stunning a Loomian and making them useless for the rest of the game, but also just doing a lot of damage to them in return with Oppress. So Dusket has a lot of flexibility on how it can be ran, and it honestly has a lot of good movesets as well. You can even run it with Melee Fadeaway if you want. But I think the best set's definitely Hasten and Phantom Blast at the moment. So it's a good mon. Has a lot of weaknesses though, like just not as good as some of the other roamers on the field, but I think Dusket's a good tier roamer. I think the addition of Hasten has definitely made it a good mon. Now, we have Ikazune, the second roamer in Loomian Legacy. This is a great tier roamer. Now, if this was like 3 months ago, I would say it would be an amazing tier roamer because of how much damage it does, has the Magnified Jolt set. A lot of dangerous sets Ikazune can run. There's even Melee as well with Blaze of Glory. Mixed Boots with Blaze of Glory, which I actually used in a tournament match just a couple months ago. And yeah, Ikazune is actually a really good roamer, but the reason why it's in great tier and not an amazing tier is because of the rise of the meta of Chartiki. Chartiki just got its ability change from Noxious Weeds to Combustible, and it makes Chartiki effectively one of the best Ikazune checks in the game. And with the addition of Bernkata being immune to Zip Zap, makes it very tricky for Ikazune to do its stuff. It's still a great mon. It still has some tools like Energy Surge to hit certain threats, and you know, you could always Zip Zap out of a Chartiki, so you do still have the pivot advantage there. But Chartiki is a massive problem, especially for the Magnified Jolt sets. That set has been heavily weakened. The best set right now, I think, is definitely Specialty Boots, either Smart Boots or Nibble Boots. Those are probably the best sets you can run with Ikazune right now. Great roamer, hits really hard, only has 2 quad weaknesses, which, that's it. It doesn't have any other weaknesses, so yeah. Very cool mon, hits hard, has pivot, has priority, can pretty much do anything. So, great tier mon. Protagon is average. The reason why Protagon is in the average tier and not lower is because Protagon is threatening enough that teams do have to respect it. Because if Protagon does get a ranged attack boost and it is specialty goggles, it can actually do a lot of damage to teams, especially if it's the funny Dart Burst set. If it's the funny Dart Burst set, it can actually be very dangerous. Not to mention, you can actually use this as a kind of like an interesting lead. You can use something like Zip Zap Barbs. You can use like Clutch Plushie and then set up Barbs turn 1 and then pivot out with Zip Zap. That's another option you can do as well. There's also Augment as well, so you can even like set up an Augment and then Zip Zap out. That's another option as well. And Protagon is going to be buffed as well. It's actually going to get Pepper Burst in Year 2 Season 1. So that's actually going to make Protagon a lot better. I think it's also going to get Climate Cannon, which is going to be very good on Heatwave teams. But right now, it's good, but if you're prepared for it, which a lot of teams are, Protagon doesn't really do too much. Especially if you get an Earth type. Most Earth types can actually deal with Protagon really easily. Not to mention, it just struggles in the meta. it struggles a lot in the meta with Verison and just Tyrex. It's mainly Tyrex. You can beat Verison, but Tyrex is just kind of a nightmare. It is a good lead against Tyrannox, but again, even Tyrannoxes have built their defenses specifically in a way to give Protogon the melee attack boost, which is definitely holding it back. Protogon's a good roamer, actually decent in this meta, but, you know, if you give it a melee attack and not a range, you feel pretty safe against Protogon, but it can still be dangerous. That's why it's in the average tier. Now, we're going to be ranking the normal Dakuda and the Soul Burst Dakuda separately. Normal Dakuda is, I mean, it's still good. It did lose Venom Slash, which did definitely hurt it. Because right now, Garlash is the better melee attacking water type with bulk up right now. Not to mention that thing even has Vice Jaws, that thing can barter, that thing has other options as well. What does Dakuda have ever since it lost Venom Slash? I mean, it has Torrential Slash, which hits really hard. It hits a lot harder than Vicious Snap from Garlash. And you could run like some mixed shenanigans. Like you could run like Torrential Slash, Slap Down Thunderstrike to hit Lumi. And then maybe Gamma Pulse? I don't know. Like this, I don't really know how to exactly use normal Dakuda at the moment, but it still hits hard. If there's that one glove set, not to mention that normal Dakuda has the advantage of being unpredictable because you don't know if it's going to be normal Dakuda or ranged Dakuda because both Dakudas play really differently. So, yeah, that does give the base Dakuda an advantage despite not being the best mon in this meta. And I did hear that Dakuda is getting Venom Slash back, and if it gets Venom Slash back, it's easily an amazing tier. But right now, I'm going to put it in good tier just below Dusket. But Soul Burst Dakuda, on the other hand, amazing. The reason why Soul Burst Dakuda is amazing is because even though it cannot hit plant types, it just clicks one Energize under Thunderstorms, and it beats them anyway. And those Herb types that can switch into Electric type moves dies to Tsunami. And Soul Burst Dakuda, while it's not the fastest mon in the world, has enough bulk to 1v1 pretty much any mon in the game. Like, it has really good bulk, its speed stat's good enough, and really good coverage. There's Gamma Pulse to hit up Sidragon and Yursnack. Can even hit Nokomori, which Nokomori isn't even that common. It does really good in this meta, too. I mean, it does hit Tyrannox with Tsunami after an Energize. It can actually hit Venusaur, which is nice. Like, Venusaur isn't free because Electroshock just does so much damage. And it just generates a lot of pressure. So, Soul Burst Dakuda is a monster. It definitely belongs in the amazing tier, especially after an Energize. But not only that, you also have to think that a Dakuda could Soul Burst. That's just that threat of normal base Dakuda definitely spikes Soul Burst Dakuda up a lot, even though Soul Burst Dakuda is a lot more common right now. So, amazing tier mon. Maybe not the best in this meta, but still good enough. I still think it's amazing tier. Cosmillion. Alright. A lot of people might expect me to put it in the dumpster fire tier, but I lost to a Raging Flame Softwater Peace of Mind Cosmillion once, so I'm raising it up by 2. I'll raise it up by 1. Because Cosmillion isn't that good with the weathers right now. It doesn't really do much under the weathers right now. And that doesn't even mention that all of its attacking moves can miss. Its best set is honestly the Raging Flame Peace of Mind Softwater set with Climate Cannon. You set up Peace of Minds a couple times, you burn the melee attackers, you're fast, you have 100 speed, 100 defenses, and 100 health. Really bulky, only 2 weaknesses, and your defensive typing, and you just kind of stall. Very dangerous set if you're not ready for it. It could definitely solo teams on itself if you don't have the tools for it. But other than that set, Cosmillion really isn't that good. Other than that set, Cosmillion ain't it. It is gonna get buffed with its ability boosting the attack stat of the significant weather it's in, so that is gonna be cool. It's gonna make it hit harder in the future. I think with that it'll be like an average tier mon, but right now I think it's bad. I don't think it's a dumpster fire tier because there is that one dangerous set which can be really annoying. But I can't just take traumatized moments and put you in amazing tier because I got swept by it once. I have to think of this at an objective level. It's just that one set and that's it. And it's a matchup fish. Sometimes you're never bringing it and other times it cooks. So it's in the bad tier, unfortunately. Nidogon. Specialty Gloves, nuke. Brawn Boost, nuke. Has the bulk to pretty much live any hit in the game, even quad effective Spirit type hits on the melee side, which is insane. Has the bulk up tank set, which can be very dangerous as well. Its defensive typing is not the best, but it is very niche, can actually wall certain threats pretty easily, and has Telekinetic Sweep and Frost Punch to hit air types. It can't hit Spirit types, but if you have support against the Spirit types, Nidogon can absolutely cook. So, It's an amazing tier mod, nothing else to say. I can't believe this thing had Quick Punch at some point, because Brawn boosting Quick Punch makes this thing absolutely sweep teams. So, yeah. Amazing tier mod, nothing else to say there. Cephalops is banned, so nothing else to say there. Even if it wasn't in banned tier, it would still be an amazing tier. Probably just below Mutagon. But it's banned. Basically, the thing is with Cephalops, there's something called the Cephalops paradox. If you play smart with Cephalops, it sucks. But if you play Unga Bunga, click Soul Drain and you win, you click Soul Drain and you win. That's basically what happens. You play dumb with Cephalops, it's amazing. You play smart with it, it sucks. That's basically the Cephalops paradox. So if you're using Cephalops, click Soul Drain every single time. So yeah, Cephalops is definitely one of the easier mons to use. So it's in the banned tier. Now, we got Elephage. I honestly think Elephage is meh. I actually think it's better than Cosmillion. And the reason why is because it has a decently high speed stat, can run Drop of Youth. It's the only roamer that can run Drop of Youth, which makes it pretty tanky. You have the Replicate set, which can actually copy the opposing Loomian's abilities, which can definitely come into play. Also has Double Pivot, which Double Pivot is very strong, as we're going to see soon with this fella down here. But yeah, Double Pivot on Elephage is really good. It's actually really good at living Silver Stratosaur hits, which is really good for it. But there's also another Elephage set that's actually pretty dangerous that I used a lot in the past. There's the offensive faster set with Final Ruse, because even though it has good bulk with Drop of Youth, it doesn't when you don't have the Drop of Youth item. So what you could do is just lead with it, either use it as Zip Zap and Flash and Fleet Pivot at the start, and then click Final Ruse later in the game and just go 1-for-1 with a critical threat, which can be very dangerous. And it works very well because Elephage has 110 speed, which is a lot faster than Phage Knot, which only has 95. So there are actually some reasons to use Elephage over Phage Knot. The reason why it is in mid tier, though, is because it's niche. In any other situation, you're using Phage Knot. That doesn't even mention the additions of restrictive items has definitely dropped the usage for Elephage a lot, because restrictive armor, restrictive shield Phage Knot has actually seen a lot of play, especially in this meta. So it's a solid mon. But with the addition of Phage Knot, there's just 90% of the time you're choosing Phage Knot over Elephage. But there are those moments where Elephage's extra speed and extra range defense with Drop of Youth do come into play. Now, we got the Phage Knot. Probably one of the best mons in the game right now. Nothing else to say. 95 speed, hits really hard with Overcharge, has the Malware ability, which can actually be used both offensively and defensively. Has Jolt Priority, has Teardown, has Hullabaloo to stop healing, has Provoke. Also has Final Ruse as well, but I don't think Phage Knot uses it as much because it's bulkier. That doesn't even mention the fact that you just set up a Magnify Thunderblast under Thunderstorms, and this thing just completely wipes teams. So, yeah, nothing else to say here. Phage Knot is one of the best mons in this meta. Hits hard, soaks every hit. Also, probably one of the best for Venusaur checks right now as well. If you run the restrictive armor, it's actually one of the best checks for Venusaur. So, definitely one of the best mons in this meta, and one of the top roamers right now. Glacadia is average. The reason why it's average is because there's Wintrix. There's not really many reasons to use Glacadia over Wintrix right now. Wintrix has Wise, it's easier to use, and it hits a lot more threats. It's more Unga Bunga, easier to use, but there are some ways, like, Glacadia does have some niche purposes. It has Bitter Cold to hit a lot of those metal attacks, which a lot of the metal types are ranged attackers, which is really nice. Really good in a meta where Tyranics is everywhere, so Bitter Colding a metal type can make your Tyranics' endgame a lot easier. That doesn't even mention the fact that it does hit decently hard, especially if you run specialty goggles. And there's even Peace of Mind Icicle Traps. Like, it does have some utility as well. The faster speed, the better range bulk, and Bitter Cold can definitely give Glacadia some usage, but it's a lot harder to use compared to the Wintrix. And the reason why Wintrix is used because not only does it have coverage and Rant and Mud Spatter, but it also has Baffle, meaning you can use specialty boot sets, and you can also have that Wise ability that hits not very effective mons into neutral hits. So, Wintrix is just better than Glacadia right now, but it doesn't mean Glacadia is bad. You can use Glacadia, it can cook teams if you use it in the right situation, and if you play Bitter Cold and Peace of Mind correctly, I could see it wiping a board. I think it's average. I think that's the best spot to put it. And trust me when I say that Glacadia is a lot better compared to this clown. Oh, Arceros is so bad. Okay, once upon a time, Arceros used to be a pretty solid roamer. It first came out, was not very good, and then once Soulburst Crackaloola became busted in Season 1, a lot of people used Arceros with it, with Boiling Press. And Boiling Press Arceros under Heatwave used to just delete boards. It was a very dangerous team style. I don't think it was necessarily broken, but it was in that consideration of being broken. And then it lost Boiling Press, and then it can no longer hit Luminami. And you know what? Luminami is the most common mon in the meta. Even in the non-Luminami meta, there's still Ventation and Chartiki to deal with. Can't deal with those two mons. Doesn't even mention that. Phagenod also exists. Ikazude also exists. Even mons like Mutagon and Dakuda live it well. Like, some of the best roamers on the list beat it. So, there's just no reason to use Arceros. No reason to use Arceros when Infernix and Vocaloa are right there. Vocaloa's faster, has Blaze of Glory, and Brombus, and Infernix can be used defensively with Pivot. With Power Napper with Burn Up, which can actually remove hazards. Better use for Burn Up compared to Arceros. So, not only does it have competition within the other roamers, but it has other competition within its own mons with the same type, which are not even roamers. It's the worst one of the three. So, fortunately, Arceros, I'm sorry to do this. You can be good sometimes, but there's no reason to use you right now. Maybe if you had Boiling Press, maybe we could talk, but right now, you're in the dumpster fire tier. Probably the worst roamer in the game right now. Now, Novadius, banned. Enough said. 700 base stat mon. But I will say, it is another paradox I would like to say with Novadius, is because in a meta with Luminami everywhere, it actually wouldn't be that good. But the thing is, just adding Novadius into this meta would pretty much force Luminami on every single team. Because any team that doesn't have Luminami, Novadius would just cook. So, yeah. Still a ban-worthy Loomian because it has high base stats, a good ability, and a good typing. So, still a banned mon. Morphezu, amazing. I think I'd put it above Mutagon right now because it's a little faster and can be used under Wind. So it's a lot easier to support Morphezu compared to Mutagon. So, although it does require a little more support too. But the thing is, Morphezu just hits so hard. Even middle types that are supposed to counter it really can't. I've seen this thing like 3-hit KO Tyrex. So Tyrex can switch in once into a Typhoon, and then it switches into another Typhoon, and then you hit it again, it's dead. So that's how hard Morphezu hits. It hits so flippin' hard. Amazing in doubles as well, especially with the all-seeing ability hitting through dodge. Really tough. Doesn't even mention it has coverage moves like Psycho Blast to hit Brawlers. It also has Shrewd Blast to hit Ancients like Dorgo and Zulong. Solar Joltooth's the big one. Having Shrewd Blast for Joltooth is really nice as well. And the thing that's good about Morphezu is that it doesn't even need the support of a Wind team to be dangerous because it just has good raw damage in general. Unlike other air-type sweepers like Zeppelin and U-Typhoon that have the Tumultuous ability, which only activates when the wind is up. You don't need the wind to be up for Morphezu to hit hard. Yes, you could miss your Typhoons, but you could just run the safe and reliable Jet Stream. It's right there. And it's fast enough and bulky enough to just 1v1 a lot of mons. So, even with the ability of not hitting metal types, it's still one of the best roamers in the game. So, it's definitely in the amazing tier. Behemeroth. Behemeroth is good. Behemeroth is good, hits hard, hits decently hard. It does have competition with Borak, but there are other ways to use Behemeroth compared to Borak. Like, Borak is pretty much stuck with just specialty gloves. This thing can run boots, gloves, health amulet, other items work as well. You could even use like a Pearl item, like maybe you use like Wave Pearl to live a Luminami Wave Wrecker and then Timber Thrash it in return. Has coverage moves that can actually hit a lot more of the meta as well. It does still struggle in a meta with Ventation and Chartiki though, and I feel like Borak is better right now. But Behemeroth does have some usage, and I do think it's pretty decent. Plus, being a pure Earth typing is really nice with high melee bulk. So, very strong, very good mon. Not as good as Borak, and not as good as some of the other guys on top, but I like Behemeroth. I think it's a good tier mon. Firetross is the same thing. I think it's a little bit higher right now. I think it's... I'll put it above Duskit, but not any higher. I think it's still a good tier mon, not quite in the great. This thing is actually very dangerous. On rain teams, this thing is one of the best rain sweepers in the game. You lose a lot of your rain team, and then you set up bulk up in Illuminami, and this thing can actually win against the Illuminami matchup. Which is actually something that a lot of people don't take into consideration, because Illuminami is one of the best counters for it. Also has lunge to hit Lashent, which is very dangerous. And if a Chartiki switches in, Chartiki is neutral to Expert Onslaught, so you just do a bunch of damage with it, and you live a Muck Blast because you're bulky enough to live a hit. You have a high health stat, so... the second fastest mon in the game as well, so it's really fast. Can be really good as a hazard lead as well, although Gargulum speed is better. And it can be used as a late game cleaner under heavy rain. So, I think it's a good roamer, especially with the support. The reason why it isn't higher, though, is because it does need a lot of support to get going, and the normal Levatros set is, like, average, but, you know, it's still usable even outside of rain, and that's the reason why I think it's a good tier roamer. Now we're getting into the Cosmir forms. The Cosmir forms are interesting. Meatball form is the bulkiest meatball of all time. I'm going to put in an average here because the meatball form is fat. One of the better Bane Haste setters in the game, and it can pivot out into something else, which is really good. It can also set up traps, has slapdown, has some other good stuff to its kit as well, but it's really passive. It's one of the most passive mods out of any mod in the game. It might even be more passive than Gargle of Defense, and that says a lot. Gargle of Defense can't really even hit anything, so... Not to mention it's problematic in a meta where metal types are everywhere because Tronix is strong, so... If you're dealing with a team... If you're dealing with a meta team, they probably have a metal type on it that the Cosmir cannot hit. Now, I know you're not supposed to hit mons, but the thing is, this thing can get set up on a lot easier. Even if you set up Bane of Haste. Like, set up Father into a Dissipate, you hit this thing, get this down to like half, you're only setting up one Bane of Haste a game. So, yeah. Maybe two if you're lucky. Plus, that doesn't even mention that Infernix just works a lot better right now, because Infernix is not weak to metal, and can hit the metal types with Fire Breath. So, yeah. I think it's an average roamer. I think it could be very good under the right circumstances, but right now, it's an average tier mon. Cracked is a little bit worse right now because it's the same problems but worse because of the attacking mon and it's less bulky, but it does hit decently hard with the Eager ability and can be pretty dangerous, honestly. It's a pretty dangerous mon under the right circumstance, but it's really bad in this meta. And that doesn't even mention the fact that it gets outclassed by another Cosmir form. Cosmir Unleashed, which is an amazing tier mon. I'm going to put it above the Kuda, but below Mutagon. So, yeah. Cosmir Unleashed is still a dangerous mon, hits really hard, ignores weather, is pretty much the anti-weather mon, and it has Fire Slam and Slapdown. Fire Slam can hit metal types, even though it doesn't OHKO them, just hitting them on the switch in is nice. And Slapdown to remove items gives it really good utility. You can even run something like Icicle Traps as a Cosmir Unleashed lead because it is the fastest out of the Cosmir forms, and while its defensive typing isn't the best, it's bulky enough to live hits, especially on the melee side. So, yeah. I think Cosmir is an amazing tier roamer. Solnecta is... I'm going to put Solnecta in the great tier. And Solnecta is a very weird case because I feel like Solnecta can definitely have the potential to be an amazing, almost ban-worthy mon. But there's a lot of its sets where it's not so great. There's a lot of different sets the Solnecta can run. It has Magnify Lightspeed Ray, it has Peace of Mind Rejuvenate, it has Counterpoise Bulk Up, it has Blaze Rush with Peace of Mind, it has Rageful Plushie, Health Amulet. Even in doubles, they run the Intensify set with like something like a Geklo and use Dazzling Barrage on their own Solnecta. And then they click Gamma Pulse and then they just sweep boards, which is very dangerous. That doesn't even mention that while its speed stat isn't the best, 86 is good enough that you can outspeed a lot of the bulky mods. So you could set up on a mod like Luminami or Chartiki and then you just do a lot of damage in return. Now, I will say you do need like 2 Magnifies in order for it to do enough damage, but it's really easy to set up a Magnify because it's a light type that isn't weak to dark. In fact, it resists dark types with its ability, Nightlight, which is really strong. It makes it take 25% less damage from dark type attacks, which is really strong. It's actually one of the better mods at dealing with Soulburst Imperial right now, even though that thing is banned. So, and the ability for it to have priority and hit something with a Lightspeed Ray back makes it very threatening. It's very threatening. Has Fire Breath and Feral Blast to hit those pesky plant types that switch into Lightspeed Ray. So, great tier mon, almost amazing gear. Almost amazing gear. Very close. And honestly, if I use it more and get used to it more, which I used it on league matches, I won both battles in my league with a Solnecta, so I know how strong Solnecta can be. It's definitely a great tier mon, if not amazing. I might be underrating it right now, but it's definitely a great tier mon. One of the best roamers in the game. Very hard to beat, especially after a Magnify. Nimre, it's average right now. Nimre is average right now because it needs specialty goggles in order to do a lot of damage. You could run Boots, Flash, and Flee, which is nice, but the problem is that Light Air is just not a really good offensive typing. That doesn't even mention that there's some plant types that can be pretty annoying to deal with. Thankfully, Chartiki, you do hit for super effective damage, but if you face a Mulmurk, good luck. Mulmurk's going to be a freaking nightmare. Not to mention, if you want to use, like, Mycotic stuff, just use Valkyrie. Valkyrie is right there, has Lightspeed Ray, has Magnify, and while Nimre is faster, Valkyrie has a better defensive typing. So, yeah. Nimre is good, but there's no reason to use it over Valkyrie right now. But it's good. I definitely could see some formats where it can be pretty good in. Nemesis is a little bit better. I'm going to put it in the low end of good tier, The reason why it's in the low end, because Specialty Goggles Nemesis hits really hard. Dark Air with Pepper Burst coverage hits extremely hard. This thing can absolutely nuke Mons if you're not careful. But the problem is, it only has that one set that really makes it get going, because without Specialty Goggles, it doesn't quite hit hard enough, and it doesn't really do anything that Soul Burst Dragodyne can. It is a little faster, but that doesn't even take into account that Dragodyne, in its Soul Burst form, very nimble, outspeeds normal Nimbo Nemesis, and none of the roamers have totemized stats. So despite this thing having a higher base speed, Soul Burst Dragodyne can just run very nimble and just outspeed it anyway and hit it with a Jet Stream after a palm. So that is something to be wary of. Though it can be very good against certain teams, and if you don't want to run a Soul Burst, yeah, that's an option. You have you have Nemesis right there ready, and it hits pretty hard, so don't underestimate this thing. This thing is a little demon, so yeah, definitely in the good tier. Metronette's actually good right now. I'll put it above Behemoth. Metronette's good, has Specialty Goggles, actually has Anti-Lashent, which is good, because it has the secret ability is Applied Frustration, so anytime it gets hit by Petrifying, it gets a +2 in its range attack. And if you run it with Specialty Goggles and Pyrokinesis, it can actually just completely destroy Lashent. It doesn't even mention the fact that it has Rogue Assault, so when it Soul Burst in the Soul Burst Metro, which I'm going to put it around the same tier, they're both around the same, I'm not really ranking them away from each other, because Soul Burst Metronette and normal Metronette have different niches, and they both do around the same. They hit really hard with their dark type attacks, they're both pretty fast, and the Soul Burst form can actually hit Mons on the melee side, because it has Rogue Assault and Gnarly Gash, so that's the reason why I'm ranking Soul Burst Metronette around the same level. Even though normal Metronette does hit harder and does more to progress the game, the fact that this thing can be melee and hit on the melee side for a surprise factor does put it up with normal Metronette as well. So that's why I'm putting both Soul Burst and normal Metronette right next to each other. I don't know who to necessarily put higher. I guess I'll put Soul Burst Metronette higher because of the threat of normal Metronette. So yeah, it'll be in the good tier. Never Crits. Now, Never Crits is an interesting mon because it actually has a really good defensive typing. And even though it can be Never Crits, it does have a fast speed stat, has good bulk, and with a Rageful Plushie boost can actually be very dangerous. I guess the problem is, though, is that it does get outclassed by a lot of other plant types is the problem. I want to put it in the good tier because after a bulk up and a Rageful Plushie boost to get up to +3, and then with Parasitize to heal it, it can actually be very dangerous, and it actually hits Luminami Ventation pretty well. It even hits Lashent. Doesn't hit Chartiki too well, but it hits Molemirk after a +1 bulk up. So I think I'm going to keep it in the good tier because it actually does do good in a meta with Chartiki Molemirk. And I mean, if you run Primal Slash, you can actually hit Venusaur too, and you can outspeed. You can outspeed Venusaur, which is actually a really nice speed stat to outspeed. So, you outspeed Duskit, you outspeed very nimble Revenine without boots. Yeah, has a very good speed tier that I think helps it out a lot, honestly. You know what? I'm going to keep it in the good tier. This might be very controversial, but you get a bulk up buff, potentially a Rachel Plushie boost, and you can just Parasitize spam, Thistle Slash spam, and then either Primal or Phantom Slash spam and win. So sometimes it does need the crits in order to deal a lot of damage, but if you get the +1, you put yourself in a position to late game sweep. And that's what this thing is. It's a late game cleaner. You're not leading with this, clicking bulk up, and not OHKOing them on. You're using this in the late game once everything is checked from barbs. So a well-played Nevermare, I think, belongs in the good tier. Gargolem Based, bad. The reason why Gargolem Based is bad is because there's 3 other Gargolem forms that does everything it does better. Even with the Sly ability, it makes it really, really, really tough to use. Like, the thing is with Gargolem Base is that in a meta where any of the other Gargolem forms are banned, Gargolem Base will get usage because Gargolem Base has all the other good move pools from the other Gargolems. So it's not a bad mon it's not a bad mon on paper, but the problem is that it's competing with 3 other Gargolem forms, which it has to compete with. Even if one of the Gargolem forms are banned, there's always 2 other Gargolems it has to face. It will never be used defensively because there's Gargolem defense. It will never be used as a hazard lead because there's Gargolem speed. It'll never be used offensively unless Gargolem attack is banned, which in some formats, only the Berserk ability on Gargolem attack is banned. So, yeah. So, I think it's just so much competition. It doesn't even mention that. There's a lot of mods at 105 speed that just compete a lot better than Gargolem Base. Even if you want to use Gargolem Base in a format that Gargolem attack is banned, there's just other attackers in that speed range that can be very dangerous. So I think it's a bad tier mod, unfortunately, despite it being a good mod on paper. Gargolem attack bad. Nothing else to say here. It's bad. Some formats, there is complex bad with the Master's ability. Even then, even without Berserk, it would still be probably in these tiers. But yeah, Berserk is banned. Nothing else to say here. Gargolem Defense will be a great tier mon. I'm going to put it above Ikazune because it's one of the best hazard setters in the game. One of the best bulky hazard setters in the game. Pretty good defensive typing. It is quad weak to Icicle Traps though, so you got to be careful there. Especially in a meta with Wobbelisk, because I actually been seeing Wobbelisk everywhere. So I'll get to Wobbelisk in a bit. But yeah, it has Icicle Traps, has Driving Force, has Mudslide. You can pretty much do whatever you want with it. I've even seen Earthquake Gargolem see some play to hit the fire type, switching in, clicking Burn Up. So I've been seeing that as well. And very dangerous. The biggest flaw with Gargolem defense, and the reason why I ain't higher, is because it's one of the most passive mons in the game. It doesn't necessarily do a lot of damage, so if you're dealing with something like a Dusket that clicks Hasted, or a Eclipse that clicks Scapegoat, that can be very problematic, but if there isn't a Scapegoat mod, you just completely win. You just set up barbs, and you click Driving Force, and you win. So, Gargolem defense, you definitely belong in the great tier. Gargolem speed, honestly, I think speed form is a little higher right now. Because Speed Form has a lot of flexibility because it's the fastest mod in the game with Clutch. So you're never able to OHKO this mod unless you get the Fog ability up, which even then Fog's going to get changed. So you can run other items. You don't have to run the Clutch plushie on Gargolem Speed to be dangerous. I've seen Specialty Gloves, Gargolem Speed do a lot of damage, especially as an early/late game sweeper. Doesn't even mention it can set up barbs, has Provoke, so it can prevent other hazard setters to lead with it. Doesn't even mention it has Clutch Return to Sender, one of the most underrated sets of all time, in my opinion. I've beaten a lot of Soulburst Stratosaurs with Clutch Return to Sender on their Airstrike, which is funny. You can go 1-for-1 with a mod, and since you're the fastest thing in the game, you can either set up another layer of barbs, layer of Icicle Traps, you can even do like a Slapdown, get rid of an item. So, and it can deal some solid damage. Not a lot of damage, but it does enough to make it handy. So, great tier roamer. I actually put it above Gargolem Defense right now. So, yeah, I think it's the best Gargolem right now. I'll just say it. Alright, Odayaga. Odayaga is good. I will put it above Metro, below Dakuda. Odayaga hits hard, especially with the specialty goggles, has insane coverage, good melee bulk, and its best set right now is actually Splitting Headache, Thunder Orb, Bane of Haste. So you run the Splitting Headache, you run Fire Breath to hit the Lashents of the world, and then you have Bane of Haste to set up Bane of Haste for itself, and then you make it a late game sweeper by clicking Splitting Headache and doing a bunch of damage, which is also boosted by the Hag ability, by the way, and it's strong 131 range attack stat. That Odayaga hits extremely hard. The thing is, though, is that Odayaga set isn't necessarily good on Beta Haste because it doesn't hit hard enough to be dedicated for a Beta Haste team. It's better as a mod you would use on its own. So it sets Beta Haste up for itself, and then you click Splitting Headache. It's better as a mod like that, not necessarily on a Beta Haste team, though. So that's why it's in the good tier. Good mod, has good coverage, can even be ran melee if it wants as well. I've even seen, like, stall breaking sets with Scapegoat and Palm work as well. So, yeah, I've seen that Odayaga set. The stall breaking Odayaga set be dangerous as well. But I think the best set right now is definitely Splitting Headache under Beta Haste. Now we got the Mr. Wobbelisk here. Great tier. I'm going to put it a little below Ikazune. Wobbelisk sets up barbs, has Bitter Cold, can stun range attackers, and it can Driving Force them out. It does the same thing that Gargolem Defense does, but it's a lot less passive. But it also is a little bit weaker defensively. But on the bright side, it has the Ignorant ability, meaning if a mod sets up on it, it will not take any of the boosted damage. It basically, if there's a +6 Stratosaur hitting you with an Airstrike, you're not going to get hit by the +6 attack because all the stat boost will be neutralized. Not to mention that Deep Freeze can hit water types like Luminami, and that hits a lot of the meta mods. It hits Luminami, it hits Lashent, it hits Mulamurt, and it even does decent damage to Chartiki, because you can actually Driving Force a Chartiki out as it switches in. So, yeah. Wobbelisk, very dangerous. You can also Deep Freeze, you can also Bitter Cold stuff to reduce the attack stat of range attackers, and it does a lot of annoying stuff like that. So, very reliable mod, very dangerous. Never the star on anyone's team, but it's always a mod that starts the momentum with barbs, and then just completely disables another mod for the rest of the game, which is extremely dangerous. And that's why it belongs in the great tier. Ekalos It's going to be an amazing tier mod. I think I'll put it above Cosmir Unleashed for now, but below Mutagon. The thing is, this is the ultimate late game sweeper. You get a Drudge at this thing in the late game with everything chip, you win. That's basically the thing with Ekalos. Now, the hardest part is getting it in that situation where you can't set up a Drudge and win the game on the spot there. You have to wait a little bit because it needs a Drudge in order to do 80% of health, and you need 2 Drudges to just sweep every team straight up, which, thankfully, it's really easy to set up a Drudge. Really good defensive typing. Aqua Body makes it immune to burns, which is really nice. And after a Drudge, you outspeed everything in the game. So, really clutch. Very good late game cleaner. If everything is chip with layers of barbs up, or you get layers of barbs up, get 1 Drudge, you win. That's basically Ekalos' game plan. These things can even run Deep Freeze to hit mons like Luminami, which can be very clutch as well. So, amazing tier mon. Nothing else to say here. Ekalos is very dangerous. Now we got the Celestings. Normal base Celesting, I would say, is good. Normal base Celesting, I'll put below. I think I'll put it below Dusket. Sets up barbs, has slash and flee, good bulk. Sober Celesting, on the other hand, I'll put below Sober's Takuda. Very strong, very fast mon, has barbs, has Deja Vu. Fastest Deja Vu user in the game that isn't Handy Inferior. And sets up barbs, has Miracle Beam to cure status, and just a really all-around good mon. Hits hard, has pivot, has barbs, has Deja Vu, has palm, has Miracle Beam. What else is there to say? It even has priority. So, I think Sober Celesting is just an all-around good mon, even in a meta where it's not the best in. So, I think it belongs in the amazing tier. Now we get the My Mask in the room. My Mask is interesting. I'm going to put it above Nevermare. Above Nevermare, but below Nemesis. It's archetype that can be very dangerous. Mask Swap gives it a stab boost to all of its attacks, which can be very dangerous. And changing its type can also be clutch. Not to mention that the Facade My Mask can actually throw people off guard. So, yeah. My Mask is good. Nothing else to say. It can be used in 2 different ways. It can either be a fadeaway pivoter with Muck Blast to hit coverage threats, or you do a Facade lead with barbs. So, a couple different ways to use this. Very threatening mon if you're not ready for it, because let's be honest, no one is ready for My Mask because they lead Land Torch with it and click Slap Down on you, and then you lose a mon. So, yeah. I don't know why, for some My Mask always catches me off guard. So, yeah, it's going to be in the good tier. And the Grubby line will be at the low end of great. Hits hard, great bulk, poison barbs, and it also has Vital Jab to heal its own HP back. Also has Slumber to heal, has Thistle Slash to hit Surkame, has Luster Loot to heal its HP as well, and to also hit Spirit types. And as an offensive set, has Sharp Claws, Rogue Assault with Specialty Gloves, hits really, really, really hard. And in a meta without Sober's Crackalola being everywhere, it's gotten even better offensively. So, I'm going to put it in the great tier. And there we go. That is it. That is the Loomian Legacy Roamers tier list. The best roamer in the game, I would say, is Phage Knot right now. It's one of the most used mods in the game. It hits really hard, a lot of flexibility, even though it can't hit certain mods, just really good. And then the worst mod right now is Arceros. But I will make a future top 5. I will make a top 5 worst roamers list probably this weekend, so be ready for that. I don't know if it'll be exactly the same as the mods I put here, but we'll see. So yeah, that is going to be my roamers tier list. Hope you guys enjoyed this video on me talking about all the roamers on the tier list. What are y'all thoughts about the tier list? Do y'all think I did good on this tier list? Do y'all think I did bad? What are y'all opinions in the comments below? Were there some roamers that I overrated, or were there some roamers that I underrated? Please tell me in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed this PvP video of Loomian Legacy on the Joshua Star 77 channel. And I will see y'all all later. Bye-bye!